Joining us now to kind of sort all this out, plus Chuck Schumer says, hey, I'm reneging on my deal that I never made. How do you renege on a deal you never made? I'm going to renege no wall for you, even though there was never a deal for Chuck Schumer. How to snatch double defeat from the jaws of defeat is Chuck Schumer. Joining us now to straighten the whole thing out, Congressman, 5th District, Virginia, Southwest Virginia, Lynchburg area, Tom Garrett. Tom, good to have you with us.
I'm in Southwest Virginia. I got Morgan Griffith and Bob Goodlatte between me and Southwest Virginia.
I know you. That's pretty good.
We do have Central and Southside Virginia, and a little bit of those Northern Virginia exurbs.
Well, it's good to have you with us, Tom Garrett, 5th District, Virginia Republican. Let's go to Chuck Schumer. Let's go to the shutdown. You vote in favor of keeping the government open, funding it. You vote in favor of continuing health care for 9 million American children. The Democrats voting to shut the government down for 700,000 people who came here illegally, whether it's unfortunate or not, whether you have sympathy for their predicament or not. Somebody broke the law in the process, right? That's clear. Where do we go from here, Tom Garrett?
Well, let's not forget the 2 million women and men in uniform in the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Reserve, National Guard, Coast Guard, who weren't funded. Look, I was in the military during a government shutdown during the Clinton administration. It's no bargain. It's particularly hard if you get a mortgage payment to make and you make it to the end of the month and the money doesn't come in. And so, it wasn't just about this DACA deal that due by March. Now, listen, I don't like governing by CR, and I don't like waiting until the last minute to do stuff, but that's what we do. That's what Chuck does. Just expired, and we've been teetering along on breadcrumbs. The budget expired, and we literally weren't teetering along on breadcrumbs. They played a game of chicken and lost. And it's funny to me that he says it's Trump's shutdown, but then he announces that he's going to end it before the vote's held. And it's funny to me that they want to go with this sort of rhetoric that we control all the levers of power, but he's just said no border wall, right? If anything, this guy's giving the American public a civics lesson on the filibuster, which is good because the blood's on Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi's hands, metaphorically.
Well, yes. So let's get to now further negotiation because, look, even when the Democrats then voted to reopen the government, and basically McConnell didn't give him anything. He said he was going to have a debate on DACA and immigration. He said he was going to do that anyway, so it was a negotiation to nowhere.
Right, Schumer claiming victory on that is like claiming victory because somebody promises you that 7 days from now it'll be Wednesday or Thursday. We were already going to see that. But let them have it. The American public just saw a lesson in how not to govern from Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. And by the way, really and truly, every single elected Democrat at some point in the House, every one. We had a vote the first night of the shutdown to expedite the reopening. A couple of Democrats actually voted to help expedite, and then they were leaned on, and their votes changed. There's no independent thought in the Democrat Party. That's not what we're supposed to be as a nation. If our founders wanted that, there wouldn't be a House or Senate.
So what happens now? Schumer goes back and says the deal with the wall is off. He never made a deal with the wall, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And the president is saying, look, no wall, no DACA. Just tell us why, Congressman, Mitch McConnell will simply not get rid of the 60-vote cloture rule. If he got rid of that, you could actually pass comprehensive legislative.
There's this rhetoric that that's some sort of like underpinning of the Constitution that the founders, well, it would be, except they've completely changed how it works with the Byrd rule, which is younger than me, and the only reason I ran for Congress was so I could be somewhere at a job where people thought I was young. I'm kidding. But the Byrd rule, which is younger than me, they don't actually have filibusters anymore. If they did, they'd have to mainline Geritol into the Senate chamber. But if you make 48, 49 Democrats stay up 24/7 for a couple of days in a row, then they might quit throwing hissy fits over pedantic nothings and actually get the work of the people done. So I don't know why they don't do it, except they know that if they do it, that the pendulum never stops in the middle. One day the Democrats will hold the Senate again, and that's dangerous. Now, having said that, I don't know if your listeners still remember a gentleman from Nevada named Harry Reid But he announced publicly that he was going nuclear when they retook the Senate during the last presidential cycle. Of course, they didn't, and he's gone. But, I mean, if your enemy says they're going to punch you in the face and you refuse to put your guard up, don't be surprised when you get punched in the face.
Yes. I mean, look, that's the bottom line. You know, if Schumer was the majority leader, I mean, he would get rid of this thing in a New York minute, and we all know that. So, you know, you look at the Senate, Congressman, and you say, okay, the Democrats play hardball. They bring a bazooka to a gun battle, and McConnell brings basically a slingshot. I mean, you can't win. I don't know what the deal is.
It's like he's got the Sylvester the Cat Dukes up, and he's saying with the slight English accent, Queensberry rules, sir.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. I understand the rationale for knowing that if you do it, they'll do it. They already said they were going to do it.
Yeah, they're going to do it anyway. Well,
let's revert back to actually making people do a real filibuster, and then it'll mean something.
Well, the whole thing is they play to win. I mean, that's the bottom line. I want to shift gears for a second, Congressman, and let's get to this memo that is only being made available to House of Representative members under lock and key, in private, high security, classified, sort of like the 3,000-page TPP agreement was before we got rid of it. Have you seen it?
Oh, yeah. I saw it very early on the first day it was available to be seen. I can't discuss the contents. I can tell you that the American public should be very concerned when DOJ and FBI are throwing histrionic fits that we haven't given a copy of it to them. Why would they want to know? I think it's incredibly curious. I'm sick and tired of emails and text messages magically disappearing. And now we know that literally the most relevant text messages between Peter Strzok, who couldn't be loyal to his wife or his country, just magically disappeared when he was talking about things like an insurance policy in case Trump won and convening a secret society to undermine the Trump presidency. And I'll tell you what, man, that cat, you know, he sent a text message to his mistress while they were both betraying the people who they made promises to that said, I'm in a Southern Virginia Walmart. It's disgusting. I can smell the Trump voters. Well, listen here, Strzok. I think I was in the same Southern Virginia Walmart. I smelled a butthole, and it was you. I mean, who is this guy? Nobody elected him, and all the operative information is magically disappearing. I'm not buying it. Chairman Nunes of the House Select Committee on Intelligence isn't buying it. Bob Goodlatte is not buying it. Mike McCall, who used to work FISA warrants as a prosecutor before he became the chairman of the Homeland Security Committee, is absolutely beside himself with the information that he's learned. And I'm going to tell you this. I cannot discuss the contents of the memo, but the memo was the tip of the proverbial iceberg. I'm afraid that when, not if, the memo comes out, there'll be more Americans concerned with can they get Donald Trump than the prospect that perhaps the United States government has been weaponized against private citizens. I mean, it is the very most fundamental underpinnings of the United States and who we are as a nation. I fought to include safeguards for personal liberty and privacy in your own home alongside Rand Paul and Jerry Nadler, and we failed, but we will continue this fight because this stuff matters. It is a scary, dark time in this country. Look, I'm just going to point a couple things out. Mm-hmm. Bob Menendez, former New Jersey senator, had the temerity to buck Barack Obama, and 96 hours later, he was under federal indictment. Coincidence? I think not. And then another one for you is whatever happened to the person who faked the George W. Bush Air National Guard memo? Nothing? What about the investigation? Oh, there wasn't one? Well, who did it? We don't know. When you don't investigate American attempts to influence American elections by telling lies, don't be surprised when it happens again.
So, Congressman, you're very passionate about this, and I appreciate it.
I'm passionate about the United States Constitution. I'm passionate about a government that works for the people and not the people working for the government.
So this memo, and I know you can't discuss what's in it, but allegedly federal officials, like agency people that were in the Obama administration pretty high up, went to the secret FISA court and went to a FISA judge, and you have to respect the decisions of our judges in this country, or you have no rule of law, you have no justice system, the whole thing crumbles. So you have to respect that. So they go to this FISA judge and they present evidence for surveillance on a presidential candidate and his operatives in a presidential campaign, which is unprecedented, right? And allegedly they do this by presenting evidence from an opposition-funded Steele dossier obtained by Fusion GPS, who was contracting with the FBI, and they tell the FISA judge that this came from U.S. Intel when they knew, when they presented it, that it was already debunked and proven to be false.
Again, you can't throw the word allegedly in front of contents of the memo and me discuss it, but here's what I can discuss. I can discuss the law. The law says that any officer of the court, which is any lawyer, whether they're your local personal injury attorney or somebody at FBI or DOJ, any lawyer has the duty of candor, that is truth, before the tribunal, that is the judge, and that if they don't do that, that they've broken their oath as an attorney, at the very least they're guilty of malpractice and perhaps more. And the law says, and this, I'm not discussing the memo, I'm discussing the law. The law says that where two or more engage in an act that would be illegal and then engage in an act to the furtherance, a significant act in the furtherance to that, then there's a criminal conspiracy. This is the law. And then I'll tell you one more thing, not discussing this memo, but discussing history. Watergate was perpetrated by a bunch of two-bit political hacks, not employees of the United States government. But again, I can't discuss the contents of the memo. I can discuss the law.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right. They were employees of CREEP, the Committee to Reelect the President. They were paid operatives of the Nixon reelection campaign, not employees of the U.S. government or with an agency. So just forget the memo, just from a technical aspect. If you're that secret FISA court judge, man or woman, and you signed the surveillance warrant based on, if you signed a surveillance warrant based on false information, forget this incident, just in general, you're a FISA judge, this is a big deal, you sign a warrant on a candidate running for president in the middle of the campaign and his staff to do surveillance on his campaign and his employees of the campaign and his headquarters, and you sign that under false pretenses because you were misled. Now that judge is sitting someplace today, right now. Any judge that did that, wouldn't they be saying to themselves, what the hell happened here? I mean, wouldn't they be upset just in general?
I will tell you that certainly there are good, upstanding people in government who outnumber those who are corrupt and put a political agenda ahead of the Constitution and Bill of Rights. And there's been an uprising amongst members of our federal law enforcement community ever since, I think it was it Pete Strzok who decided that we would change extremely or grossly negligent to extremely reckless?
Yes.
Because I'm going to tell you something. As a prosecutor, there's a criminal negligence standard, and Hillary Clinton met it. And so they changed the words, and then you had the FBI director come out and say no reasonable prosecutor would prosecute this. I beg to differ, sir. That would be a layup if I were prosecuting that case. And it is, I told somebody, it's kind of like there's an aqueduct constructed where in the theoretical abstract, you have to separate what it is you're trying to do from everything else. And so you need a sort of a line, a group of people who all essentially will look the other way while power is abused. Conceptually, that's scary.
I mean, it's a frightening situation, and I agree with you. I agree with what you said coming on. This is beyond politics now. It's beyond whether you support Trump or Clinton, or you don't like Trump, or you're never Trumper, or you don't like his policies, or you don't like his text or his emails or whatever he does, or his his tweets. This is beyond that.
Well, was it Bonhoeffer who said first they came for the Jews, but I was not Jewish, so I remained silent? Sooner or later, if we allow individuals to destroy the concepts of privacy, the rights of citizens, of due process, if we allow the levers of power to be leveraged against American people who have a right to a fair trial, who have a right to an expectation of privacy in their persons and their papers and their dwelling place, the curtilage of their homes. That when that's gone, it's gone for everybody. And this is existential as to who we are as a nation. Again, it brings me some solace to have stood next to Jerry Nadler and Zoe Lofgren and Ron Wyden and Ted Lieu in standing up for privacy and the Bill of Rights just a week prior to a lot of these things transpiring, at least so far as the public has been made aware. Because hopefully, again, what scares me is the idea that something might be released that is horrific on its face, and that there would be people who were so bent on get Trump, that they ignored the forest for the tree. That because you ain't getting it back, or if you do, the price will be a heavy one.
All right, we're out of time. I want to thank Congressman, 5th District, Virginia Republican Tom Garrett for being with us. More information, tomgarrett.house.gov. You can follow Tom on Twitter @Garrett4VA, @Garrett4VA.